Well, hello. I want to dive into pretty difficult question if we look at the Bible and we start to read secondary literature, but something that I think is pretty straightforward if you come to the text and use the Bible as the best commentary on the Bible. And what I'm talking about is this idea, what in the world is the Bible talking about when it talks about this mysterious thing in Genesis 1 called the Raqia? So this is kind of my literal translation. God said, let there be a Raqia. It's just a Hebrew word that appears there. Let there be a Raqia in the midst of the waters, and let it be a thing constantly separating the waters from the waters. So this is the verse that starts off the grand debate about what in the world is this Raqia. And if we look at contemporary translations, you can see they're all over the place: expanse, sky, heavens. ESV has alternate canopy, expanse. That's the 1984 change to vault. Let there be a space. Let there be huge space, sky, dome, firmament. My favorite one, I don't think it's on here, CSV or something like that, it says, let there, the NCV, let there be a something. So that lets you know that when we come to this idea of Raqia, it's something that's baffled scholars for a long time. And, Logos Bible Software has this excellent graphic from Logos Bible Software and their kind of image of the ancient concept, and they've got a firmament resting on mountains, and that's an idea. Probably goes all the way back to Nicholas of Lyra in the 1200s, 1300s. Of course, the drawing in Nicholas is not of Genesis 1, but it's the Raqia described in Ezekiel 1 and Ezekiel 10, which is some kind of heavenly tabernacle, I think, there for Nicholas. But, you have these things, and so, what is it? Is it this vault, or is it something else? We're in good company because the ancient writers had the same problem we do. The Septuagint goes with the stereoma, and that's used in the New Testament in that passage in Colossians. It talks about the stereoma of your faith, the firmness of your faith. Ezekiel uses that same word and has this sapphire stone and tied up with all those heavenly visions of God standing on some kind of a crystal clear pavement. Solomon throne, tied up with these waters. So it's all over the place, and the Vulgate just tries to translate the Greek word, the firmness, and the Targums, they just do what I did. They just do the word Raqia, and even the Syriac Peshitta has Arakia. And so they're just saying, okay, something's going on in the text, this strange thing, the Raqia. I think it's here in the Peshitta, in the Ezekiel, that they're connecting it with the sanctuary, and I think that's what Nicholas is doing too, kind of a heavenly tabernacle, and the Raqia is like the veil or something with cherubs on it, and God's somehow on the other side. Well, um, that's kind of what you get. And if you read lots of scholars, you're going to get some variation of kind of one of those things that we've talked about. But I think that the Raqia is actually kind of clear what it is, and it's part of Scripture of this theme of salvific space in the midst of deadly waters. And so when you have God coming to the abyss of these uncollected waters in the creation, second day of creation, and he splits the waters, what God is doing is he's creating salvific space. And I think if you start thinking of it that way, salvific space in the midst of deadly waters, what you're going to end up with is, where does that appear? Well, it appears at creation. God comes to the deadly waters of creation, and he splits them in two and creates salvific space for the whole universe amidst these waters. The Septuagint calls it the abyss, and what we know about the abyss is the demons begged Jesus in the story of the Gadarene demoniac not to send him to the abyss. So God makes salvific space here. In Noah, the salvific space in the midst of deadly waters is inside the ark. The Red Sea with Moses coming to deadly waters, and he's kind of acting like God acted at original creation, and he splits the waters. And if this were a longer presentation, we would see that many of the same words used in the creation story are being used here, and same goes for Noah's narrative. So you've got Moses doing this godlike thing of splitting the deadly waters, and of course you can look at the 10 plagues as kind of God creating Egypt, and he's bringing them back to kind of the primordial creation, and he's making space for people's salvific space. That's repeated of Joshua at the Jordan in Joshua chapter 3. And again, if this were a longer presentation, we would see that some of the same words in Hebrew are appearing in the crossing there. And Elijah, cross at the Jordan, 2 Kings 2. And in many ways, Elisha is kind of like a Moses and Joshua figure. And so Joshua is repeating what Moses did, and now the new Moses is followed by the new Joshua. And these two events are happening at the same place. And then ultimately Jesus comes to the Jordan, and of course there's debate where Jesus was baptized. Many people are arguing for kind of north toward the Sea of Galilee. I'm more convinced that the historical place there at the Abel Shittim crossing was where Jesus was baptized. If my memory serves me right, the Madaba map on the floor of the church there in Jordan has the baptism at the Abel Shittim crossing. And of course, that's connecting Jesus as, being baptized the same place where split the waters. And, you can think of it that Jesus is becoming the salvific space, just like the inside of the ark was the salvific space. If Jesus did, go into the waters, who was immersed like that in the water? Well, it's the Egyptians, and Jesus is becoming that salvific space. That may be one way to look at it. The other way could be that Jesus is being washed by a Levite, John, and he's 30 years old. I think Luke tells us that. And so, you read the a requirement to become a priest. You became a priest at 30 years old, and you were washed by a Levite. David became king at 30. Ezekiel became prophet at 30. And so Jesus is bringing all those together. But I think the one that kind of makes it clear to me is in Revelation 15, where these heavenly waters, and recall, we've been looking for the upper waters since right here. We get glimpses of them in, Ezekiel 1 and Ezekiel 10, but we've been looking for these heavenly waters, and we finally find them here, and the people are singing the song of Moses, just like they sang the song of Moses here, having gone through here. They're singing the song of Moses because they've made it. The salvific space that Jesus is, this thing that keeps back the deadly waters, has made way. And I hope you can see this website, www.fullofice.com. I love what the artist has done here of seeing Jesus as the entity, even as the presence of Yahweh holding back the deadly waters. And if that's right, then what's going on with the Raqia is God saying to Israel, what you experienced at the Jordan was a microcosm of the creation of the universe, and that there's something holding back deadly waters that would be judgmental and death-dealing, but there's something. And eventually Jews began to say someone holding back the waters. And I wonder if that isn't exactly what the New Testament wants us to think. What do you think? What do you think the Raqia is? Look forward to your comments. You can post below. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.